In 2023, there are over 40 upcoming launches. Which project do you think are worth investing? This year, we are expecting developers to launch about 12,000 units compared to only about 4,005 in 2022. Buyers have plenty of options to choose from this year. The question on many buyers' mind is this the right time to enter the market? Is property still a safe asset? Today, we have two of our executive directors of agency, Eugene and Ryner here with us to share their views on the market, and they are also in charge of the two very highly anticipated projects in District 15, Tembusu Grand and the Continuum. Both projects have been the talk of the town recently and generate lots of buzz in the market. Let's dive in and find out which projects offer better potential and worth investing. Before that, let's hear from Eugene and Ryner about their take on the market. Ryner, is this the right time to enter the market with the high interest rates and the market uncertainty?
Thank you, Doris, for the questions on this high interest rate concern. Naturally, buyers will be concerned about this current environment. So this is a valid concern. So what we did is we actually go into the data analytic and find out the trend of the interest rate in the past 12 years. And guess what? We realized two important insights, especially in the year of 2017 and 2019. We realized that so long there's healthy volume, even if the interest rate is in an increasing trend, the price effect, guess what, is up. So that's one data point. And then we fast forward, we realize there's a second data point. When the rising interest rate go up from 2020 to 2023 currently, so long the volume is healthy, guess what? The price effect is up. So in this perspective, right, if you ask whether currently the high interest rate is a concern, I must say, yes, it is a concern. But if you dive into the insight to see, is this the right time to buy? I would say it is the right time to buy if we hold for the long term. This is reason being number one. Reason being number two, let's put ourselves in the perspective as a developer. From the developer perspective, high interest rate naturally would mean they would want to price the product in a very reasonable pricing strategy. So coming from that point of view, as a buyer, it is a plus point for me. Why is that so? Because in fact, this high interest rate environment resulted in developer wanting to put a more reasonable pricing strategy as compared to an aggressive pricing strategy. So purely just on these two essential points, backed up by the latest statistic, I would say, yes, if we are buying for the long term and we buy it prudently, currently, it is the right time to enter.
Well, I totally agree with Ryner. It's a very good insight. Come to Eugene, with the upcoming supply, how do you foresee the price trend this year?
Okay, so we all know that the supply this year will be high. Okay, but in my opinion, my analysis is that the Singapore real estate market is very safe, very sustainable, and very stable. Why? Because of very prudent government measures in place. Right, over the last 14 years from 2009, what we see is 14 rounds of cooling measure. From no additional buyer stamp duty to 30% additional buyer stamp duty for foreigners today. We also see that loan to value, the loan that you can take on a property purchase, have dropped from 90% all the way to 45% for a second property loan today. And with all these measures in place, actually, what I actually foresee is that the downside risk to the real estate market is actually very limited. Why? Because the person coming out with the cooling measure is the Singapore government in the first place. And do they want a steep drop in real estate prices, like 1 year, 20-30%, or do they want a steep increase in real estate prices, 20-30% a year? The answer is no.
No.
So basically, they want prices to go in line with economic fundamentals slowly, 2 to 3 to 5% per year. And if let's say there's any risk to the Singapore real estate market, what we can foresee is that they might adjust some of these measures to support the market, right? So on a long-term perspective, I would say that Singapore real estate market is very safe and stable because they have all these measures in place. And what I mean by adjusting these measures, okay? For example, if the additional buyer's stamp duty is adjusted downwards for the various category of buyers, will it spur additional demand? Like for example, I tell Doris, now no need additional buyer stamp duty for multiple property owners, right? Will you consider?
Yes.
Okay? Or maybe even if I say that, third property loan, fourth property loan, I give you 90%, will you consider? Right? So I'm talking to the extreme lah. So all these measures are in place to actually take out a lot of demand really. And real estate price is always supply and demand, right? With all these measures in place, I would say that the risk on the downside is limited. And on top of that, our financial system is built based on inflation, whereby inflation is almost definite in a way. By 2 to 3% inflation, everyone is happy. And with that in mind, right, it also might imply that real estate prices, due to everything becoming more expensive, will more or less, with a probability of higher than 50%, go up in the long term. So better buy earlier than later.
So from both of your take it is still safe to invest in property and buy property as an asset for mid and long term.
Yes.
Yes.
So let's dive in. There's a lot of talk on whether a lot of buyers are looking at to buy Tembusu Grand or to look at the Continuum. So over to both of you.
Okay. Tembusu Grand is here. The Continuum is here. Right?
Yeah. Incidentally, Ryner is in charge of the Tembusu Grand, and Eugene represents the Continuum. He's one of our leadership team for the Continuum. So maybe you want to share with the viewers these two projects. Over to both of you.
Thank you, Doris. Maybe let me start first.
Okay, good.
Okay, like any investor or homestay buyer, right? I think the price point to me is important. I want to make sure that something that I invest is safe. So coming from the very first bullet, number one, I would say that if you dive into the, we call it the land cost for the whole of RCI in the whole 2023, you realize that Tembusu Grand has a low land cost advantage of 1,302 per square foot per plot ratio. And the reason one that is being bidded successfully was Mayor Park, and that was about 1,668. So purely just looking at the number alone, the delta of 1,668 minus 1,302, we are talking about $360 plus that kind of margin. So from the safety margin perspective, investing in Tembusu Grand, we have a very high safety of margin. So in fact, the risk is very low. And if we dive even deeper, okay, to go into East area project that has a low land cost, to find out what are their potential launching price, we find a strong correlation. When the project land cost is low, the launch price are also equally more competitive. So from this angle, right, I would say Tembusu Grand is a very rare opportunity that we can go in with this low land cost advantage, and at the same time have high safety of margin. That is what a lot of investor and even homestay buyer would want to know, because even if you're a homestay buyer, you do know that at the end of 10 years after you stayed and you wanted to upgrade or right size, you do know that your property would have already appreciated because we are entering at a very right pricing. So that is my key why Tembusu Grand. Of course, I got more points to share. All right.
Eugene, what you have to say?
The Continuum has too much things to share already. Okay, but I will just keep it short and sweet. Firstly, if you look at what Doris have shared, 40 upcoming launches. Okay, none of these launches are freehold and above a size of 300 units and above. Only the Continuum is above 300 units and freehold. We are 816 units freehold development. Okay, this is point number one. So why is that important? Because real estate price is always about supply and demand fundamentally. So if you can see that the supply coming in the market in 2026 and 2027, there's only one and only sizable freehold development that is going to be completed, and that is Continuum. This is the first point. The second point is out of the 519 freehold developments in the entire District 15, only 10 freehold developments are above 300 units at the moment. And the Continuum will be number 11. So it's still a very niche and very rare type of market. And point number three, like it or not, some people will like to invest in leasehold, some people like to invest in freehold. That is definite. So, but we must agree that there's this group of freehold supporters. And looking at sizable freehold developments, the Continuum might be the only choice, which is why when we look at supply and demand, when the demand for freehold is there and the supply is so limited, especially for sizable freehold developments, which is why, in my opinion, the Continuum might be one of the more interesting developments in 2023. So over to you.
I do agree with Eugene. In 2023, Continuum would be one of the very interesting and good projects. And of course, now back to Tembusu Grand again.
So what more you can share with us about Tembusu Grand?
Okay, so the second reason I've analyzed is interesting. It's all about the master plan. Okay, so if you go deep into the master plan, you realize that Tembusu Grand, right? In the nearby plot, there's actually 3 government potential land sales. And based on the analysis, chances is very high that the land bid for these 3 potential plots will not be cheaper than 1302. So what does that mean? It means that if you were to hold for this particular Tembusu Grand, right, at this low land cost advantage of 1302, you got not 1 chance, but you got 3 chances to strike your jackpot. Why is that so? Because 3 plot of land, any plot of land, so long is above 1302, you will hit your upside potential. Because the land cost is the raw material of the next potential GLS land. And if the land cost is higher than the current Tembusu Grand land cost, right, this future project will naturally pull the price of Tembusu Grand up. So that will give the upside potential in a very systematic, non-emotional, statistic way for all buyers or all investors who want to invest in a very rational manner. So that is my second point about why Tembusu Grand. And you shared 3 points, right? Let me share one point. So my third point is, it's an amazing product. Rarely we see a product that has award-winning developer, MCL Land, CDL, award-winning builder, award-winning landscape consultant, and also award-winning architect. So can you imagine? We have this big, heavyweight, award-winning teams that curate this whole project. And if you go to that very show flat, right, I only got 3 words to share. It is stunning, modern, timeless. So I can already imagine myself when I drive along that road, right? We call it Jalan Tembusu. I'll be driving past a landmark, iconic development that can stand the test of time 4 years from now. So having had a very strong, reputable builder team, it gives me confidence. It means whatever that's being promised in the brochures, they will deliver. And I'm confident because there's so many track records, completed projects, that if you were to go onto the actual site, you'll see whatever CDL promises, they deliver. And that is also in itself a key amazing plus point, in addition to the high safety margin and low land cost and upside potential. Key reasons. So that is my third reason.
Okay.
Over to you.
Okay, and why is it that we are so excited about this development?
Okay.
Okay, it's basically 2 majestic plots right? One on each side. It's like 2 developments in one. And every development is like 400 units. So it's a very distinct project whereby it's connected by a sky bridge. It's like one majestic development here, 400 units, and another one 400 units here, and connected by a sky bridge. Is very distinct. It's a development whereby they bring out the heritage of Tanjong Katong to the modern Tanjong Katong, right? And on top of that, it is our developers, Hoi Hub and Sunway, are no strangers to property development. And indeed, they are specialists in the en bloc market. Look at their track record. Key Residences, 999 years en bloc. And then recently, we have Terra Hills. And when we serve the clients at Terra Hills, they are so impressed with the product. It's like, it's just simply beautiful. They have very nice layout. And in fact, they are bringing the type of Key Residences 3-bedroom layout with the kitchen and the living by the balcony right into the Continuum. So layout is very interesting. And as an en bloc development, we have the flexibility to hack down some walls, to adjust the layout, to probably even make it more efficient, right? So these are some of the things about the Continuum. But on top of that, what is even more interesting that Hoi Hub and Sunway have built in 2 levels of basement car park, whereby effectively you can just park at your basement car park and go straight up to your unit. And offering 4 blocks. 4 blocks have sky terraces, which means that even if you are investing in a 2nd or 3rd floor unit, you can go up to enjoy your view. Your view from the 18th floor, whereby you overlook the CBD view or the eastern view of Singapore. So nicely oriented sky terraces to maximize the view. So these are some points about the Continuum. Over to you again.
Thank you, Eugene.
Views. Yeah.
Talking about the views,
Views.
Tembusu Grand comprises 4 majestic towers.
Magnificent, majestic, stunning.
Stunning, modern. So the highest floor go up to 21st floor. And guess what? The award-winning architect actually studied the terrain to make sure that there's a maximization of wind, view into the units. So even before this development is being completed, it already won Green Mark Platinum Award. It's just amazing. And generally, all the units are all north-south orientation. And they got an unobstructed view towards the north and towards the south. Talking about the facilities, one word, comprehensive. It is not one level of facilities, but level 1, level 2, and level 5. It is not one clubhouse. There are 2 clubhouses. And even the spacing from block to block is amazing. It's so spacious. It's about 40 meters. It is almost 80%. Doris, can you imagine 80% of an Olympic pool length? That kind of spacing from block to block. And not only that, from one perimeter to another perimeter, while you're doing your gym, guess what? You're going to see a long panoramic view. You know how long is that, Doris and Eugene? 125 meter. 125 meter, oh gosh. It is 2.5 times the Olympic pool while you're doing your gym. And that is from the Tembusu clubhouse. How about the Grand Clubhouse? When you're in the Grand Clubhouse, where you book the function rooms, where you book the games room, the karaoke room, you can enjoy loving moments with your loved one, right? And yet enjoy the nice panoramic long view of infinity pool, 50-meter like pool, garden courtyard towards all the way till the end, a water cascading view. So can you imagine that is the kind of experience, the essence of living, that what the architect wanted to achieve for all the residents in Tembusu Grand. So when they arrive in that very development, right, guess what? It is out of the bustling city. So I can already feel the amazing moments that all the residents can enjoy within Tembusu Grand. And back to you on the Continuum.
Yeah, so
Eugene.
so I guess that I'm really mesmerized by what Ryner has said. Yeah, but basically the Continuum is a beautiful development, but essentially what really makes it stand out is still the fact that it's a very sizable freehold development, and the fact that less than 2% of all freehold developments in District 15 are sizable. And why sizable is important? Because we have found I think most of the realtors or investors that are in the market long enough will actually see that the number of transactions in a development is highly correlated with the price appreciation, which means that if you have a bigger size development, 300, 400, 500 or more units, which potentially will lead to more transactions, it will lead to more higher valuation increases bit by bit, and the price usually appreciate more, right? And in terms of freehold sizable development, basically the Continuum is the one that is upcoming, and this is what that makes it really stand out. Yeah.
And adding on to Eugene's point on the density, Tembusu Grand is of a very good density of 638 units. So in this good density, like I do agree with you, with good number within the developments, okay, it will spur the valuation because there will be naturally more volume. And of course, adding back again, I forgot to mention that the 3 level is not just the level 1, level 2, right? But also the level 5. One key point I want to highlight is the developer and architect actually curated a very huge area at level 5. For who? For the kids. It's amazing. It is a huge indoor kids play area with a huge extension outdoor play area for the kids. It's like almost like a kid's paradise. Can you imagine even Papa and Mama after a day's busy work? They can just spend quality 30 minutes of their time. Just get their kids to enjoy that quality moment at level 5. That is something that money cannot buy. And why I emphasize this point so much? Because subsequently, it is about selling to potential demand. And knowing Singaporean, knowing parents' psyche, this is a huge plus point. Because subsequently, when it TOP or when you hold for a long term, you decided to sell, you will naturally attract parents who would want to pay a premium for such facilities. So that is something that I feel is very, very curated, very thoughtful by the award-winning developer, award-winning builder, landscape consultant, and also the architect for Tembusu Grand.
Okay, talking about the kids at Paradise. Okay, both Tembusu Grand and the Continuum is within 1 kilometer to 3 great primary school. Kwang Hua Primary, Head Girls, as well as Tanjong Katong Primary School.
Wow.
Right. So, Doris, what else you want to know?
Maybe you can share with us in this district, this location, what are the amenities other than the 3 good schools?
Talking about amenities, I just had my nice, we call it 炸鱼粗米粉 at Old Airport Market. That place is amazing with all the affordable foods and most importantly, delicious food. Not to mention, I can bring my kids to Parkway Parade for many enrichment courses, as well as do my shopping and groceries. So in short, there's a lot of amenities in both Continuum as well as Tembusu Grand. It's amazing area. Any additional points to add?
Okay, I personally stayed in Tanjong Katong for the last 24 years. So this area to me is a lifestyle. Why I say it's a lifestyle? Basically, my kids study in Niam Primary, right? Their enrichment class is all over the Tanjong Katong area, right? And we are very fortunate that in this part of Singapore, we have 2 swimming clubs. Singapore Swimming Club as well as Chinese Swimming Club. So basically, it's like if you ask someone that have stayed in Tanjong Katong before, and this is simply where they want to retire, the good food, the eateries, the feel, right, is about a lifestyle in Tanjong Katong.
And yes, talking about lifestyle, East Coast Park. It's
East Coast
just
Park.
a short drive to East Coast Park.
Mm.
To bond with the kids, to have the long bicycle ride together, to enjoy the beach with a huge outdoor playground which just adjacent to McDonald's. So the lifestyle here in Tanjong Katong area, towards the proximity to the Parkway Parade, East Coast Park is just amazing. And yes, I do agree with you. The lifestyle at Tanjong Katong is superb.
Yep. So basically, it is a location whereby it appeals to both homestay owners as well as tenants. And of course, we know that with the upcoming Tanjong Katong MRT coming up, right, it basically makes traveling to CBD even more convenient. Right, not that it's not convenient now, but it makes it even more convenient.
How long does it take to travel to the CBD?
If you drive, I would say less than 10 minutes. Less than 10 minutes, ECP down, you probably just reach.
And it is not just a short drive to the city area, but also a very short drive to our crown jewel, Changi Airport, where they can enjoy huge, nice jewel shopping mall and the facilities over there. And talking about location, if you go into Tembusu Grand, we are just next to the Nasim of the East. Why I call the Nasim of the East? Because in Nasim, right, we know that there's huge landed bungalow in Orchard. And why we are next to the Nasim of the East? Because in Tembusu Grand context, right, just a short stroll, you hit huge landed in the east. And recently at Wilkinson Road, the landed, guess what? It was transacted at $55.5 million. Can you imagine? So we are talking about location that's so prestigious. And yet at the same time, you are paying at a very right entry price. And not to even mention what Eugene has mentioned about the charm of Tanjong Katong, where we can get all the amenities, okay, at our fingertips.
Totally agree with you. And the Continuum now again. Okay? Basically, we are literally 300, 400 meters away from
Yes.
Tembusu Grand. We are very close by, very
Yes.
close neighbors. Okay. And on top of that, the Continuum is basically, walking distance to Paya Lebar. Right. So tapping on the shopping malls in the area and also the offices all in the area. So the Continuum is like, both enjoying the Tanjong Katong charm as well as the Paya Lebar businesses, the malls, the lifestyle there also. So it's like the best of both worlds.
So I think $1 million questions. Will the price continue to increase?
Okay, to answer this $1 million question, I guess, Doris, you're asking at this price point, will the price continue to appreciate? To answer this in a very rational way, what I did recently is to sieve out the past long-term data, to look at the ups and down, ups and down. And what is common is we realize that property investment, yes, it do has investment risk. That's why the price will go up and down, up and down. But if I dive deep in to see the trend of the low and the high, guess what? I realized that the high of today is always becoming a low of tomorrow. So if you are coming from a long-term perspective, the high today, if tomorrow it become higher, I would say it is the right time to enter. To put this in a story perspective, 13 years back, what happened is, can you imagine if you got a very good friend who asked or to go to you and tell you that 13 years back, that one day the EC price will hit $1,300 per square foot, 13 years back. When then the EC was fetching at about 600 plus per square foot. What is the natural response? The natural response is, are you crazy? It's not going to be 1,003. But guess what, Doris? Now EC price already hit 1,003.
I think cross 1,003.
Cross 1,003. Yeah, cross 1,003. So what does that mean in that very case in point context? Then the price of the 600, 700 per square foot may look high. But now you look back into that pricing, you realize that now if you are able to enter at $600 or $700 per square foot, it becomes a grab. So if you are coming from a long-term perspective, I would say, yes, while the price point now is high, but it can be higher if you are buying it for a long-term perspective. Any points to add, Eugene?
Okay, so probably I will just add in some points. So basically, in my opinion, it is that it is not about property prices keep increasing. You know, the question on people's mind, why, property price keep increasing? But basically, we must understand that fundamentally, the value of money keep dropping. Why? Why is it keep dropping? Because it's just factored in our financial system. Inflation is happening. 1 million 50 years ago, right, can buy a lot more things than 1 million today. Right?
Agree.
So basically, the value of money is constantly dropping, and which is why we actually feel that prices are increasing. So a very simple analogy, right? Every resale development today is once a new home, right? Literally, basically, like all of us are baby once, right? Right. So every resale development today are once a new home, and when any new home is launched, they are always priced at one of the highest in the district or in the area. It's always one of the highest because new is always more expensive than old, all else equal. Most of the time, okay, in the same area. And what we see today is almost every resale development is selling higher than launch price.
Agree.
So which is why every time, basically, whenever a new home is launched, no one will say that the price is low. No one will say that. Today is the same thing. Same as per one Amber launch in 2006. No one say that 600 PSF is low at the point of time. People are saying that there's no way you can make a single cent. Right?
Yeah.
No way in 2006 or 2005. Right? But what happened? Prices went up. So my take is that is as such, it's just these 2 points, whereby these are the reasons why I feel that prices will continue to go up. All else equal, 10 years later, 20 years later, new home prices will be at the next level.
So if you are looking for properties now, you should just step in and buy. And which property should they buy?
Tembusu Grand.
The only mega freehold development in Singapore upcoming, the Continuum.
And of course, I'm too excited to want to add on to Eugene's point. All right, on his point that the price will continue to go up. I think it's very important to know the backdrop. Singapore government already mentioned the land cost, the land bid need to be transparent. When it need to be transparent, it means it need to be following the market supply and demand by a competitive bid. Why is that so? So that the money that's being generated from the land sale, right, will go back to the Singapore Reserve. And the Singapore Reserve is a form of reserve for our generation and the next future generation to come. Why this important big picture information is important for all of us? It means government will not artificially reduce the land cost. And if they are not going to do that for the good of our future generation, it means the land cost, based on rational thinking, it can only go up because Singapore land is limited.
Oh, finally, both of you agree on something. So thank you, for coming here today, and share with the
Thank you,
viewers,
Doris.
Thank you.
on the Tembusu Grand and the Continuum. So in conclusion, both Tembusu Grand and the Continuum have their own strong attributes. Am I right to say that?
Yes.
Yeah, and ultimately the choice between the two depends on your personal preference and investment goal. We hope this session has helped you gain a better insight and help you make a more informed decision.
Definitely. See you at Tembusu Grand Show Flat Preview on this coming 24 March to 4th April at a very stunning, iconic, grand, timeless, majestic show flat.
Yes, I will be there at Tembusu Grand also.
Okay.
Okay, but for Continuum, Our show flat is opening on 15th of April.
Mm.
So come and view our very majestic, distinct, elegant, proven, and most importantly, freehold development.
I will be there for you also.
Okay, thank you.
So in short, to arrange viewing for both projects, contact any of our EIA trusted advisor today.